Sit back and get ready to have the most fun you ever had with an electronic device.
All right, everybody, welcome out to the Get On With It Sports Show. It is Wednesday, December the 14th, 2022. Jersey Johnny coming at you with me, as always, is none other than Mr. RadioPete and Mr. Harry Lug Nutz. Say hello, gentlemen.
Howdy.
Hello, gentlemen.
Who are you talking to?
And you guys.
And us, right? Man.
Gentlemen and gentlewomen and gentle creatures across the interplanetary scope that we reach.
Everywhere.
Gentle people everywhere. How are you guys this evening?
Great.
11 days from Christmas.
11 days from Christmas, yeah. Week from Sunday.
I've been exclusively shopping based upon suggestions on the internet.
From the people you're buying gifts for, or just from the internet?
Nope, just from scrolling around on Facebook or wherever, and something pops up and goes, here's a gadget someone has to have or whatever. And I go, oh, that looks cool. I think I'll get that for so-and-so. And I get one.
And you get one. There you go.
It's at least as good a system as me trying to choose things that will, mean something.
That will mean something. Yeah, you might actually.
I mean, like, there's nothing. There's nothing. Like, neither of my children really need anything. Everything would be peripheral.
Right.
Not to say they have everything they want, but as far as things that they really, need or should have, they pretty much have it right now. Right. So I'm like, I think I'll get this because it's unusual and whimsical and probably better than socks.
A present with a little whimsy mixed in. A present with a little whimsy mixed in is always nice. So.
I only buy things available at Walgreens, so everybody.
That's a good policy.
Everybody gets a Snuggie.
Yeah, you go. Walgreens, CVS, always good.
A travel mug.
And the
Walgreens. We don't really have too many
travel mug.
CVS's out here.
And the occasional trip to Target, and then you're good to go.
Nope, no fucking trip to Target. Fuck that. Nope, not doing it. Nope.
You just go really early in the morning or really late at night.
One of the best things about being divorced is that you never have to go to those places ever again in your life.
Well, it's funny because I'm divorced, but I still go.
Well, but you're also living with someone.
Oh, that's right.
Yes, kind of.
Good place to pick up chicks there, Mr. Divorced.
Yeah.
Nah, there's better places than Target.
Oh, I don't know.
I
think it's just the right mix of makeup and desperation.
Well, yeah, I think my crowd is more Costco.
That was the original tagline for Target, as a matter of fact.
Right.
Welcome to Target. For all your
right mix of makeup and desperation. Yeah.
Welcome to Target, not quite as shitty as Sam's Club.
There you go.
By the way, BJ's.
Well,
they've gone up with inflation too.
False
advertising. That is false advertising.
BJ's?
You cannot get one there. They have 0 BJ's.
Yeah, well, you heard that joke, right? Like,
especially a wholesale club. I mean, that's a lot of BJ's.
That's a wholesale.
Wholesale.
You would think they would have racks of them, but they don't.
There's very little racks there too.
There's lots of racks there. But,
which we got? Yeah, I had. I was going to say the whole thing where you can go. Hey, I just heard you get Staples at Staples. Really? Where? And then they head out. Where are you going? I'm going to BJ's.
Yeah.
I was the woman's joke is I'm going to Dick's, right? That's the woman's.
It sounds like a failed Andrew Dice Clay joke. That's he was trying to work out in his recent routine because he does talk a lot about Staples.
Does he?
By the way, I'm at Dick's, honey. I'm going to BJ's. Oh,
I haven't watched Andrew Dice Clay since 1987.
Well, let me say something. If you don't follow him, you should be on Instagram because now he goes up to people and pretends that they're bothering him for an autograph or a picture and stuff, and they have no fucking idea who he is.
Who he is.
So his self-awareness is so great, and he's actually funnier than he's ever been, and it's
pretty good.
He's quite spectacular on his Instagram videos.
I'll have to do that then. Yeah.
I highly recommend following him. He's pretty funny.
Let me write that down. Follow the Dice Man.
Yeah.
All right.
He's not as recognizable, you know. He doesn't look like a cartoon character from 1986 anymore. So.
And how do you feel about Sebastian Maniscalco?
He was good. I mean, he has one of his skit about Ross Payless, whatever Ross, the department store, is one of the best 5 minutes of comedy in the last 20 years.
Really?
I think he had a couple really, really, really good specials, and now he's wearing tuxedos on stage, and I feel like he's reaching.
Right.
Yeah, he's reaching a little bit.
I was like my favorite of his that I've seen was the one where he says, 30 years ago, if your doorbell rang at 9 o'clock on a Sunday night,
right?
Who's here? Open the door. Come on in.
Now you go get the gun. Yeah. His Edmonds cake bit. It's all good. It's very good.
We'll get the Entenmans. Yeah, that's what he is.
He's the Ginzaloon Jerry Seinfeld. Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a rough game, the comedy game.
It is.
It chews people up and spits them out.
Well, I don't think it's spit him out. I think it's done him very well. I think he's probably one of the more financially successful comedians out there.
True. Fair enough.
Yeah, but there's always it's inevitable. There's a drop off.
Mm-hmm.
With some, I don't think he's had any drop off. I don't think Bill Burr's had any drop off. I don't think who's the little guy who everybody loves, who's really popular. Kevin Hart. He's bigger than ever.
The little guy.
Even Louis C.K. I mean, he still.
Well, he's coming back.
He's coming back, yeah. Mm. So, welcome to the Get On With It comedy podcast. We're talking about all your
comedy will probably start in a few minutes.
The comedy will start
eventually.
Right on my count. 3, 2, 1. There we go. And commence. All right.
So,
speaking of comedy,
football?
Well, I'll start with a little baseball. Actually, let's throw that background up. Let's talk about the money that and I'm not just self-serving as a Mets fan here, but honestly, let's talk about the money that Mr. Cohen is spending and has done so in the last week and change.
Yeah, I mean he's treating the Mets like it's Twitter. It's just
right.
Just hope he doesn't start firing half the people that are there.
That would not be good. But I mean, he went out and signed Verlander, 2 years, $86 million with a vested third-year option. He signed Jose Quintana, David Robertson, Brooks Raley. Obviously got Nimmo back and went to Japan and signed Senga. So. He did pretty much everything that everybody wanted him to do, with the exception of getting another bat. And last night,
it's not over yet.
It's not over yet. So far, and last night, of course, there was that little bit of a couple minutes anyway of buzz about possibility of Chick Corea. Carlos Correa going to the Mets. Maybe they should sign Chick Corea. Actually,
we're still waiting on the comedy to start.
Exactly. But he wound up like 15 minutes later. He wound up in San Francisco for, was it 12 years, $350 million?
I think it's 13 years.
13 years, $350 million.
Yeah.
That's a little. Look,
a lot of years.
He's a great player, but I don't think. I don't think any of these contracts are worth it. To be honest with you,
of course not. Of course they're not worth it. But if you want a player, you got to pay him.
Mm-hmm. That's the only way you're going to get him.
Yeah.
No, there's no loyalty anymore. DeGrom, bye-bye. So long, farewell. And then he makes the comment, and this was the best. He makes the comment. He heard from Bruce Bochy that the Rangers are, they're committed to winning a World Series. So that's what made him sign there.
Well, look, as a non-Mets fan, don't you think DeGrom sort of has, an understandable beef? And granted that his latest, his injury problems over the last number of years have been perpetual, to say the least. But, the Mets went out and spent all this money on Scherzer.
Mm-hmm.
when they could have extended DeGrom, and they could have given him that money before they went out and signed Scherzer. I think DeGrom felt as if the Mets were kind of toying with him a little bit, and I'm not so sure the Mets aren't better off for a short-term solution right now. I think Jacob DeGrom is going to continue to have injury problems through the rest of his career. And I think Jacob DeGrom is a risk now. And I think the Mets maybe, just maybe, avoid it. At least they know what they're getting.
Well, let me ask you this. DeGrom has 5 years with the option for a sixth. Verlander has 2 years with the option for a third. So let's just assume both options are extended. All right. Do you think it's feasible to say that it's quite possible that Justin Verlander pitches more games in his 3 years with the Mets than Jacob DeGrom will pitch in his 6 years with the Rangers?
Maybe. I mean, look, you're still taking a chance on Verlander. Let's face it, he just missed an entire year 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm. He came back and won a Cy Young.
He came back and won a Cy Young and kind of struggled a little bit in the playoffs, even though he won a World Series. Mm-hmm. It wasn't because of him. He was the most dominant regular season pitcher in baseball this year, without a doubt. Mm-hmm. If you get even half of that, I think you got to be happy. And I think the Mets are really relying on Scherzer and Verlander to be healthy in the playoffs. Mm-hmm. So I think it's a little bit less of a risk with Verlander than it is with DeGrom. I thought the same thing with Scherzer, and Scherzer wound up, missing a big chunk of the season for the Mets. So they're taking a risk. They got two older pitchers, but they've got two of the most proven pitchers in baseball at the top of their lineup, at the top of their rotation. You knew DeGrom was going to go. I think they knew he was going to go. So they had a plan B and they pounced on it and they got what they wanted. I mean, you could talk about loyalty too. Why would Verlander not stay with the Astros? I mean, these are the things. It's just, they don't really care.
No,
it's all about money.
Just follow the money.
And I would say that, and we'll probably talk about the Yankees in a minute. I thought that Judge was going to leave too, but due to that. And I think that actually he came back based on the fact that he wants to build upon what he started.
I honestly, and we could switch to that. I mean, that there's nothing more to really say about the Mets. The only thing I do want to say is that there's been the only talk out there I've heard about bringing in just another bat for now and whatever else. Because remember, they do have prospects, and some of which they brought up last year, and then they're going to obviously continue to mold them in between Beatty and Alvarez and the others. But
and the Mets do have other good pitchers in their rotation.
And they do. But on top of that, they're talking about another bat, so they're exploring the idea of JD Martinez for DH. Yeah. I mean, they're stuck with Ruff because of the contract. Maybe they DFA him, who knows? But and they re-signed Vogelback for another year. But I mean, that's not that bad. I don't care.
The Mets got the injury bug last year. Look, they lost one of their most important position players at the top of the lineup, and they only had a portion of their pitching staff healthy when playoffs came around.
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest kick to the lineup was Marte going down. So
yeah, that's what I just said.
Okay. Sorry. I'm sorry. I was reading while I was talking.
Look, the Mets have had a good offseason. However, National League East, maybe if you look at any division that has, I mean, Atlanta and Philly have both definitively improved themselves.
Yeah, and again, you talk about crazy money. The money that Philly gave Turner. I mean, all right, fine. I mean, it is what it is. It's not like they signed Babe Ruth, right? Trey Turner's a great player, but
I think Trey Turner is the best. I think he was. Some people are going to think I'm nuts. Out of all of the free agents, excluding pitchers, position players, I think Trey Turner was the best of the bunch.
I do too. I have to concur with that. I don't think he was light years ahead of other people, but solidly above.
But what he can do is going to make Philly a lot better, because a lot of the things that he could do, especially with his speed, it helps them defensively immensely, because let's face it, they're not the most young, nimble team out there.
Right.
I think Philly for a team that went to the World Series, they definitely made themselves better. So,
yeah. Well, between JD Martinez, they're also floating the idea of bringing Michael Conforto in for a year on a flyer to see what he can do. But
I think the Mets success relies on that pitching staff being healthy come October. That's
they're going to get there, whether it's whether it's a wild card or winning the division. And this year told you that the wild card's better than winning the division, right? So, but whatever.
And look, with the position players that the Mets have spent big money on, who have yet to maybe deliver on that. Although, last year, why am I drawing a blank? The shortstop that they signed, Lindor had a pretty good bounce back year. I said it last year. Marte was the best offseason acquisition in baseball for the money, and if he's healthy, the Mets have a pretty good top of the lineup. They got a couple little holes, but every team does. Sure. David Robertson's a good pickup for them. If David Robertson could stay healthy, he's a proven middle reliever who's obviously had a ton of experience in the playoffs, including was vital to the Phillies last year. So I think the Mets have done fine, and I think they're a better team than they were on paper going into the season this year than they were ending last year. I think the other teams in the division maybe both got A+. We'll see.
Yeah. We'll see. All right. On that note, Pete, you have anything on the Mets?
Listen, I think the Mets hedged their bet with DeGrom, and he took offense to it. Listen, you can't be mad at Jacob DeGrom, right? He gave the Mets everything you could have wanted. I mean, yes, he suffered some injuries, but when he pitched, he was great, right? So, and look, I'm going to say this over and over. The last 2 seasons have been disappointing.
Yeah.
In the way that, So if you're Jacob DeGrom, you go, maybe it's time to go somewhere else. I don't think he believes that the Mets are not committed to winning, but maybe he thinks it's not going to happen.
Because the Mets, right? Yeah.
And we're not in the clubhouse every day. You don't know what the relationship is like.
No,
that's true. It's absolutely true. But listen, I'm not. You have 2 older pitchers, both certainly durable, amongst the most durable of the older pitchers in baseball, but you never know what can happen with those guys, right? You got a Japanese guy coming in, and I don't know. They're making a lot of moves. They're all good moves, no question about that.
Sure.
But as I always say, they're still the Mets until they're not the Mets. So
exactly.
I hope it works out. I hope it all works out. It's hard to think that both those guys, year 1 and 2, are going to be their
40s.
At the end of the season. It's statistically, well, I won't say statistically, but the probability of them both being healthy and ready to pitch and strong for the playoffs is, it can't be that good.
No. Well, let's hope that it is, and let's hope that they don't lean on him that much during the regular season because of Quintana and Senga and the rest of the staff, right? I mean,
and look,
they have more. They replaced.
You don't have Walker,
so
you don't have Walker, right?
Right.
You don't have Bassett, and those are 2 guys. They were out there.
Right.
Bassett was great for the Mets last year for the most part.
Well, you got to say,
so is Walker.
Is Verlander going to? Yeah. Is Verlander going to replace? Going to pick up what and give you more than DeGrom gave you last year?
Yes, absolutely.
Is Quintana going to give you more than, or at least the same as what Bassett gave you last year? Not that
to be seen.
Or Walker, either or.
I think he's the question mark.
Right. And is
I would say he'd probably be on par with one of them.
And what's Senga going to give you? Is he going to?
Don't know.
I mean, this is Major League Baseball, not Japan, but I mean, some might say it's the same. He was.
What was his deal in Japan? He was pretty good, right?
He was pretty damn good in Japan. In Japan, he was DeGrom.
He was big. He was big in Japan.
He was big in Japan.
But there's a pretty decent history of really good pitchers from Japan coming over and doing pretty well here, right? We've got a handful of them. and one who's the new Babe Ruth, of course. But
and I mean,
take him out of the mix.
There's
more guys that came over and did pretty well, right? Who was the guy for the Yankees that you loved? Was it
Tanaka?
Tanaka.
And you got what's his name? Where is he? Darvish, right?
Darvish actually has proven to be has a pretty long career and has become a bit of a journeyman. Up and down, came out of the gate pretty good, then had some injuries, and I mean,
he's had a good career,
kind of a comeback career, and he's been he's been an important piece of a bunch of teams now. Mm-hmm. So I would say
he was on the Rangers when the Rangers went to the World Series against the Giants, right? I mean,
well, he was on the Dodgers too, and
that was after that, yeah. So I mean, he's been involved with a lot of.
But wasn't he on the Dodgers when they won the World Series?
No.
Okay.
I do not believe so, but let's find out.
He's on the Padres now. Isn't he pitching for the Padres?
He is on the Padres right now. Yeah. Let's see. He pitched for. He's 130 years old.
He's actually not that old.
He's 36. Actually, he's 36.
He's 5 years younger than Verlander and Scherzer.
Yeah.
He pitched for
He looks like he's 16.
He pitched. Yeah. He pitched for the Rangers from 2012 through 2014. That was the World Series.
The New York Rangers we're talking.
He pitched for the New York Rangers. Yes. He was in goal for the Rangers. Yes. No, he played for Texas from 2012 to 2014. So that was the World Series. And then 2016 and 2017. Then he went to the Dodgers in 2017. And the Dodgers.
Didn't they go to the World Series? I thought I saw him pitching in the World Series recently.
Yeah, I mean, he was it the 2017?
It doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. Yeah, he pitched for the Dodgers in the World Series.
See?
In 2017, but lost to the Astros.
Yeah, but I mean, my point being is that, he's
there for, and then he was on the Cubs for 3 years, and now he's on the Padres the last
that's
two.
right, the Cubs. Yeah, that's it.
So
anyway, my point is there have been some pretty decent, big time Japanese pitchers who've come.
And he was on the Ham. He was on the.
At least had good careers.
He was on the Ham Fighters for 7 years.
The Ham Fighters. That's the hot dog eating team from Japan. That is every 4th of July. The
Ham Fighters.
The pork swallows.
No, I think that's the old Jewish team. Is the Ham Fighters? Right?
Ham Fighters, right? The Hokkaido Nippon Ham Fighters.
Excellent. Yeah. All right, now that we've
anyway, so we've established
all one viewer that we have.
Darvish.
Let's go off on a bigger tangent.
There we go. All right. So anyway,
Darvish. This shows Japanese balls.
That's right. Oldish.
You Darvish.
All right.
Anyway,
next.
All right. Back to what I was going to say before. Switch to the Yankees really quick. Because I just want to mention, you mentioned Judge before. I honestly think it may have a little to do with a little bit of loyalty, and I think it's more to the fans than the team by any means. But it's also about the money with him as well. And I honestly think that if the Giants came with the same, or if obviously not better, offer than the Yankees, that he was there. He was going.
I think they did.
I think the Yankees beat him. I mean, he may not have given
he gave the Yankees last choice.
The Yankees last choice, right? Yeah. So, had it gone the other way and they went up $10 million, then hey, he'd be home. So,
yeah, I mean, part of me, I think that the Yankees are committed to being this version of the Yankees for a while now. They've re-signed Aaron Boone. They've re-signed Brian Cashman. Was I excited that they have Aaron Judge? Sure.
Mm-hmm.
But the lack of anything else, just, what are they really going to be able to do?
Yeah.
So they're the same team, minus Andrew Benintendi, minus Matt Carpenter, who knows? They might re-sign these guys, but I'm just saying as of right now.
Right.
They overpaid Anthony Rizzo again, who they love. I don't know. I mean, I would have rather seen the Yankees say no to Anthony Rizzo, gone out and gotten Trey Turner or Carlos Correa.
I would have rather the Yankees got Trey Turner.
Yeah, moved DJ to first base every day, and gotten rid of Gleyber Torres and just battened up the infield. I mean,
well, there is talk about the possibility at some point during the year next year that Gleyber may go bye-bye. So,
well, I mean, look, the Yankees they finally have gotten to the point where they are able to say no to players. I mean, Gary Sanchez might not play next year, so the Yankees, sort of avoided that nightmare by 1 year. Mm-hmm. But we're saddled with Josh Donaldson. We're saddled with Giancarlo Stanton, who's not a horrible player, but he's not nearly worth the money they're paying him.
No.
But at this point, it's sort of like, you got 3 years, maybe. You got to go win now. Buy a team, win, be the Yankees. Because I'm not sure the Yankees are a better team than they were. I don't think they're as good as they were last year, and last year was not good enough to beat the Astros. Right. Now, the Astros have lost some critical players, but what do the Astros do? They go out and sign others. So,
or bring up something from the farm system to replace them. And that's been working for them on a steady basis.
Right. The Yankees, all I hear about are these prospects, and if you're going to play them, play them. If not, the Yankees starting lineup does not thrill me. And you also have some players in there like Trevino, who had a great first half of the season, who had a miserable second half of the season. And the bottom half of the Yankees lineup is fucking atrocious. Mm-hmm. Josh Donaldson is a fucking waste of time and money. And, God, him and Torres and the Oswaldos and Oswalds, I mean, they can't get
the Oswalds and the Trevinos, and
they just can't get the bat on the ball, and they're not going to win a World Series. So, yeah, that's great. I'm glad we have Aaron Judge. We'll put some players around him.
Yeah. Well, we will see how that proceeds. But the Yankees got to make some moves to remain relevant in these talks. I mean, there's so much. You listen to sports talk radio in New York anyway here, and
they got to go out and get Rodon. They have to land Carlos Rodon.
Right. Well, that's where I was going with this. They have to do something, right? So they have an offer into him now. Apparently, his choice, if he has a say where he's going, it's to the Yankees. He wants to pitch for the Yankees, and right now they're a little far apart. So we'll see where that happens, but it's not like there's that much urgency for some reason for Hal Steinbrenner to get this done and Brian Cashman to get this done.
I think they're working. I think there is urgency. I think that the Yankees are a different machine right now. There's more negotiation. That's you just summed it up. Mm-hmm. There's more negotiation than ever before.
Yeah.
And they don't seem as to really demand that they get the best player for what they need.
Right. I agree.
Or else they'd have Justin Verlander pitching for them.
This is true. I'm just looking at my my Santa hat here, and I got my headphones going over this, and then this is coming over. It almost looks like one of those like wraps, like you gotta like you wash your hair, you put a towel around it. It's like
it looks like something. That's for sure.
That's for sure. So anyway,
I think it's sexy.
I think so. I thank you very much.
It's very festive.
That's right.
Really brings out the green in your complexion.
Green in my cheeks. Right. Anyway. So Correa went to Frisco. Bassett, Toronto signed Bassett. So he's back in the American League now. Chris Bassett.
Yeah, he got a ridiculous amount of money too. I can't blame the Mets for not getting it. What was it? 3 years at like $44 million or
something like that. Yeah, he got more money than
Is that really ridiculous?
No, it was more than 44. It was like 20-something million a year, I think.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. But Turner obviously in Philly. So a lot of these huge contracts, but there's nobody else out there, right? I mean, Xander Bogaerts went to the Padres. So the Padres improved.
So here's a question. Here's a rumor that's been floating around is that move is that you might see the Padres try to move Tatis.
Is that so?
Yeah.
Would you like him in pinstripes?
No.
Why not?
I don't like him.
Personally or player?
I just both. I don't think he fits in. I think that there's 5 or 6 other shortstops that are better than him, and I think his priorities aren't necessarily there. I think he's got some growing up to do, and
yeah, but don't you want to have him on your team when he does that growing up?
would have rather had Trey Turner or Carlos Correa,
but you don't have either of those guys.
Well, look, if they'd have to absorb his contract, which now doesn't seem as crazy, right? As it did, what would you have to give up for him? If it's just, I don't know what you would trade for him.
What if they wanted one of the Oswalds, one of the Trevinos, Josh Donaldson, and Gleyber Torres?
Oh, that's a no-brainer. But I mean, the Padres might be willing to deal him, but they're not brain dead. So I don't know. There's been some rumblings,
a little rumbling
about that. But what an infield, or Bogart's, I guess maybe going to play second or outfield. I don't know.
I don't know. I think it'd be interesting.
Yeah.
So a lot of teams making a lot of big moves. Not many left to be made. Rodon's probably the last on the list, really, of the big names, of the bigger names. Yeah. You
still got Andrew Benintendi. You still have Benintendi's an all-star. He's not a huge name, but he's a big name, and I think he fits in well with the Yankees.
I think you're going to see Benintendi back with the Yankees.
Maybe we'll see. We'll see.
All right. I don't think much else is going on in baseball right now. I think we'd switch it up to football. What do you think?
Let's do it.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, unless Pete, you have anything else in baseball?
Nope.
All right.
Let's see. Oh, yeah. Bassett, 3 years, $63 million.
3 years, $63 million. So $21 million
a year. That's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money for Chris Bassett.
What was his record last year?
It was decent. He went his biggest thing is he went deep. He was an innings eater.
He's an innings eater, and wasn't his ERA right around 3?
Yeah.
He's a good pitcher.
Bad. He's a good pitcher,
and he's been consistent for like 3 or 4 years now. Or he's done that pretty consistently.
What did he do last year?
I think he was hanging around, and I think once the Mets signed Senga, he went to they weren't going to re-sign him after they got Senga, so off he went to Toronto. But if they didn't get Senga,
15-9, 342.
That 342
made 30 starts.
I mean, that's pretty good. How many innings? How many innings pitched?
181, 160 hits, 19 home runs, 1.14 WHIP.
What was his record the year before?
He was with Oakland. He was 12-4 with the 315. Only threw 157 innings in 27 starts. So
he was with Oakland. He was with Oakland for a couple of years, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was 2020 he was 5-2 in 11 starts with a 229.
Sure.
He was 10-5 in 25 starts with a 381 before that.
He's been pretty consistent. And a record consistent. Oakland's always tough because if he's on another team, the games where he had no decisions he might have had more wins.
Yeah.
But consistently being, around 320 to 340 ERA, and he's probably, he's a good pitcher. He's a good number 2, number 3, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean 180 innings, 30 starts. It's average of 6. That's 6 average, right?
With Toronto, is he after Manoah and what's his name? He's probably number 2 or number 3 on that rotation, right?
Yep, I think so.
I mean, he makes Toronto better, that's for sure.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. So, all right. Well, there you have it.
There we go.
The Chris Bassett story. All right. Let's move it over to a little football. Let's briefly, I don't want to go down a rabbit hole with the Giants, but that was a horrible game on Sunday. I mean, granted, we all knew that they were going to lose to the Eagles, right? There was no, unless something really odd happened.
They're back. The Giants are back.
The Giants of, how they should have been playing, basically. Is what
I mean, look,
Look,
the Giants somehow managed to date a supermodel for a few weeks, and that supermodel woke up one day and said,
"What the hell
am I doing with the Giants?"
Right. So I mean, it's just still have the injuries, but it's just that was a horrible game. I mean, the Eagles just had their way. I mean, it's like they were toying with them, you know.
Well, some injuries on the Giants on the defensive side certainly exposed them beyond what I think it normally would have been.
Well, their starting corners are out,
and defenses have learned that you basically have to challenge the Giants into throwing the ball downfield. And if you get ahead of the Giants and stop Saquon and build up a lead, then the Giants have to turn into a drop back passing offense, which is beneficial to the opponent, which is what happened. Yeah. So, it was actually exactly what I expected to happen. I did not expect the Giants they don't match up well against the Eagles.
You mean against the Eagles or?
Yeah, against the Eagles.
The rest
no,
of the
just against the Eagles. I mean, I think if you look at Washington, I think that's the level that the Giants are at. They're pretty much a Washington Commanders team. Right. And I think they'll probably lose this week to the Commanders. But I think it was what I expected against the Eagles. The Eagles just match up really well against a team like the Giants.
There you go. Now, on that note, with challenging them to throw down field, obviously we're talking about Daniel Jones here, but I mean, is it?
No, we're talking about Daniel Jones, the offensive line, the lack of a real number one threat. We're talking about
and I'm a number 2 and number 3 threat, to be honest.
Right, and a tight end who in the beginning of the year was doing really well, but is injured now. I mean, it's just Bellinger's not there anymore, right?
No, he's back. He was back.
He's back. Okay,
he's back.
So I mean, I think that the Giants just seem unsure of themselves in passing situations.
Let me ask you a question. How do you feel about Daniel Jones as a quarterback after this year so far? And look, we all know, the three of us know, and I'm sure people that have listened for a while now know how you feel about Daniel Jones. But
yeah,
after this year, what you've seen so far, are you a little bit easier on him? Not a lot. Maybe you don't like him. I like him by any means.
I always thought that he should challenge for a backup role somewhere, and now I feel like he definitely deserves a backup role somewhere.
So he came up a little bit on him.
Yeah, I mean, he was a D-, and now he's maybe a C-. All
right, I'm going to read you something really quick right now. I got this.
Here's some stats. Daniel Jones fucking
Daniel Jones QBR in games on a Tuesday.
Listen to me. Listen.
Games on a week when the Tuesday.
I'm not giving you shitty stats. Just listen to me. All right.
These are good.
Six Giants quarterbacks. Okay. Daniel Jones, Eli Manning.
I'm going to keep 4.
Stop.
I want to preface before you go any further. We're talking about an organization who may have the worst history of quarterbacks out of any organization in the history of the NFL.
The ones that I'm going to talk about.
Okay.
I'm not just picking random. Just listen.
Yes.
Daniel Jones.
It doesn't start with Rodgers and Favre or Young and Montana.
Just listen. Daniel Jones,
Namath, and
yes.
Pennington.
Yeah.
Daniel Jones, Eli Manning, Phil Simms, Fran Tarkenton.
Okay.
Kerry Collins, and I'm throwing in Dave Brown. Okay.
Dave Brown. Dave Brown, underrated. Yeah.
All right. So
he's the control quarterback in the experiment here.
Daniel Jones, Eli Manning, Phil Simms, Fran Tarkenton, Kerry Collins, and Dave Brown. All right. Excuse me. First 50 starts. Okay. This is just stats through the first 50 starts for each of these quarterbacks. Okay. Passing attempts. Okay. So not just handing it off and everything else, and checkdowns are included and everything else, but passing attempts.
We know what a pass attempt is.
The number 2, Daniel Jones is tied for second with 1,638 attempts. He's tied with Eli Manning.
Of course, and whoever comes next is going to be right up there too because the game has changed.
All right, hold on. The number 1, you want to take a guess who the number 1 was?
With passing attempts in their first 50 games?
Only one above those two.
It wasn't Eli.
Dave Brown.
No.
It was probably Fran Tarkenton.
No, it was not.
It was Phil Simms.
It was not.
I don't know. Who the fuck cares?
Terry Collins. It's the only one you didn't
Collins?
say.
Of course, because I forgot who the 6 were. They're fucking forgettable.
All right, listen. Of the two, of Eli Manning and Daniel Jones, and we're all in agreement that I think even Pete is in agreement that Eli Manning was one of the best quarterbacks the Giants ever had, right? Now, obviously, that might not be the best quarter. I mean, it's not Tom Brady by any means, but he did beat him twice. But in any event, anyway, so he's tied for Eli Manning with them. He actually has 136 more completions than Eli Manning in his first.
How many wins does he have compared to Eli?
I'm getting there. I'll make this quick. I'll just read these through. Eli Manning only had 904 completions, and Daniel Jones is 1,040. Completion percentage of all 6 quarterbacks, Daniel Jones is the highest by far.
Yeah, because 4-yard completions are easy.
63.5. But he's thrown for 10,915 yards. That's the second most of all 5 quarterbacks in those 50 starts, behind Kerry Collins. All right. And he's got 57 TDs. That is the second lowest. Okay, that's the second lowest. Dave Brown had the lowest. Everybody else is higher than that. Yeah, right. Interceptions, 33. He's actually had the lowest amount of interceptions.
Fantastic.
Of all of them.
Of any of those guys in their first 50 starts.
Of any of those guys in the first 50 starts. And his quarterback rating through 50 starts is at 86.0. That's the highest quarterback rating of all 6 of those guys from the first 50 starts, quarterback rating. But he has the worst record. Dave Brown had a better record. So he has the worst record. So my point in saying that, and I'm not getting on the Daniel Jones bandwagon. I found that. I wanted to read it. My point in saying that is maybe it's not just Daniel Jones.
It's not. But anybody who with a passive interest in pro football knows that Daniel Jones is not the path to a championship on the New York Giants.
No,
he's not. Now, having said that, the Giants have never really been a team, with the exception of maybe Kurt Warner, who have gone out and said, "Hey, we're going to go get a veteran quarterback and really stack our offense around him." It just doesn't happen.
Yeah. Well, they did that with Kurt Warner, and then he played 9 games, and then they benched him for Eli Manning, and off he went.
Well, yeah. Right.
But in all respect to Kurt Warner, they got Kurt Warner before they signed Eli Manning.
Eli wasn't fucking great when he started.
No, he went 1-6.
And Eli wasn't great when he ended. And Eli wasn't great for long periods in the middle. Eli Manning and Phil Simms had a couple really good runs in the playoffs. Phil Simms had 1. Eli Manning had 2. That's their legacy. That's their legacy.
Eli Manning also is, as are a lot of quarterbacks, not just on the Giants. Was a good quarterback, a solid quarterback that fell victim a lot of times to poor drafting.
I don't know. Eli had out of all of those quarterbacks, he had the most talent around him at the receiver position.
But barely any time to throw the ball in later years.
I don't know.
This offensive line has been a problem for many more years than Daniel Jones has been.
The years that the Giants, Joe Burrow has a shitty offensive line too. He went to the Super Bowl last year.
I'm not comparing Daniel Jones to Joe Burrow by any means.
I'm not. I was comparing Eli Manning to Joe Burrow.
Oh, all right.
My point being is that Eli Manning is probably the best quarterback in the history of the New York Giants by far. I don't think anybody could really argue that. I don't think Eli Manning's a top 30 quarterback in the history of the game. So that's my point, is that the Giants don't need a wonderful quarterback to win a Super Bowl, but they do need Lawrence Taylor, Harry Carson, Carl Banks, Michael Strahan, and all the other defensive players that
they need a solid, ridiculously ironclad defense. They need a decent offensive line and good weapons at the skill positions. And good coaching.
Yeah. And I think that Daniel Jones has some intangibles that those guys don't have. What he doesn't have, I think, is just the ability to do I think Daniel Jones can bring a team back in a critical playoff game? I just don't see it in him.
Well, I got a feeling I'm just guessing here because obviously nothing's in stone, but I have a feeling you're going to get a little bit more time to see him.
Yeah, they're going to re-sign him for another year.
They're going to have to at least franchise tag him. So
yeah,
but
hallelujah.
There you go. All right. We'll see what happens this weekend. Giants obviously playing the Commanders on Sunday night, and here's the stat about that. Now, Daniel Jones, I actually meant to look this up. Let me look at it really quick here.
Let me ask Harry while you're looking at it.
Go ahead.
Yes, the Chris Bassett conversation was more interesting.
Barkley, re-sign him.
This is the thing with most running backs in the league. They're good for 3 years, unless they're Derrick Henry, and even Derrick Henry is, not necessarily having the same success he has had in years past. I think you have to re-sign him, but you better really commit to getting the best people possible to open up holes for him. Look at what's his name on Dallas? Who's the really fucking annoying running back?
Zeke Elliott.
People were, he was arguably the top running back in the league for 2 years. I don't even think he's in the top 20 right now. And is that all really on the offensive line? The lifespan of a running back in the NFL is really low now.
Yeah, it's remember speaking of Dallas, there was a guy named DeMarco Murray.
Right.
What happened to him?
Yeah, fantastic. For a year and a half.
Right?
Yeah, led the league in rushing 1 year, I believe.
So if you're going to commit to Saquon Barkley, you might as well commit to Daniel Jones.
I'd rather see the Giants. Right? I'd rather see the Giants commit to Daniel Jones for 1 more year.
Right, that's what I'm saying. And you might as well have a game manager.
Letting
Saquon
Barkley go means that if Brian Daboll is such a genius and he can find, I think you can find a running back in the draft. The Giants need receivers and an offensive line. So if not signing Saquon Barkley means that they can afford to go out and either get a free agent or, re-sign some young talent that they have that they're high on the offensive line, then I'm all for it. Because I just don't think you need, I don't think you need a world beater of a running back to win in the NFL these days. It's just not the game anymore.
It's not the formula.
It's not.
But if you can build a good offensive line and you have a really good running back, then maybe you don't need a great quarterback.
When was the last time? When was the last time the top running back in the NFL won a Super Bowl?
I think we've had this question before, and
right.
No one knows because no one knows who the top running back.
The answer is probably like Dallas in the 90s with Emmitt Smith.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's probably the answer. So the game has changed. I mean, Derrick Henry's great, but Tennessee's not going to win a Super Bowl. I mean,
yeah, but that's not because he's not great.
I know, but it's not important. It's not important. It's not important. Who's the starting running back on the Buffalo Bills? Who's the starting running back on the Kansas City Chiefs? The 49ers.
Singletary, Pacheco.
The 49ers have a wide receiver who's their starting running back.
Yep.
It's just not important. It's not important. So, and is Saquon really, is he a top 10 running back? I don't think so.
He was in the beginning of the season.
Yeah,
the season's 16, 17 games long now.
Last few games, he's kind of not
there.
So good.
No.
Yeah.
Well, ever since when he hurt his neck and he's been toying with that, that's been a downfall there. But all right, so my question regarding Washington was here. They flexed the game to Sunday night. Okay, it was a 1:00 game. Now it's flexed to Sunday night. Now, Daniel Jones' record against Washington is 4-1-1. Daniel Jones is 4-1-1 against Washington in his career so far. All right, but Daniel Jones is 0-9 in primetime games, and he's 0-13 in games that start at 4:25 or later. Okay.
So this is a conspiracy against the Giants.
So, hey, of course. Right. No, that's not where I was going with that. My question to you is, which record is going to be prevalent here for?
This game's a toss-up. I'm telling you, the Giants and Washington are the same fucking team. They're both miserably mediocre, and none of the
tagline for the Giants.
Yeah, but the Giants are kind of on the downslope, and Washington is on the rise right now.
But if you look at the last game they played, Washington, neither team wanted to win the game at the end.
No.
You know, and
I don't want it. You take it.
The Giants had that game.
Well, Washington had it. Washington had it. They were going right down the field, and then Heineke threw an interception, or was it interception or fumble? I can't remember. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. Neither team is that great. I think Washington wins, but it could go either way. And I don't think Daniel Jones played horrible.
That's the sort of definitive prognostication that you love about this podcast.
Yeah. Fourth and 3. Are we going to put it in our quarterback's hands to get a first down? Nope. We're going to punt and play the percentages. And it almost won it for the Giants. Too bad that their place kicker couldn't kick a 73-yard field goal. So, he missed it by 1.5 yards. So, I think Daboll knew what he had, and I think he made the right decision. Does that mean that he doesn't have faith in his offense to get 3 yards and his defense to stop a team at, on their own 35, 40-yard line? Absolutely. Mm-hmm. He knows what he has. And neither are good. So he made the right call. I think he made the right call in that game. It just didn't. It almost worked out for them. So that's how good Daniel Jones is. How many other quarterbacks on 4th and 3 would punt? How many teams would punt in that situation? Man, it's maybe 5.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
That's the Giants and Daniel Jones. Is it all Daniel Jones? No. But
so I want to read.
He's the quarterback.
One other thing on Daniel Jones. I want to read this because you're going to love it. I want to read it really quick. All right. Tiki Barber was quoted today.
He's my favorite.
As saying, Giants should prefer Daniel Jones over Lamar Jackson. So, why he said it, I don't know. But he was quoted as saying it today.
Because he never won a Super Bowl with the Giants, and he doesn't want them to win another one.
Is that right?
Also, what does Tiki do these days?
He's on WFAN, right?
He does what we do, just more people listen to him.
Yeah.
He does a podcast, right? Wasn't he on was it?
I thought he was on FAN.
He's on the fan. He's on the fan from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. with Brendan Tierney.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tiki and Tierney.
Tiki and Tierney. Yeah. So anyway. All right.
Hold on.
How about it?
Who else would take that position? I mean, if somebody said,
I agree. I'm just saying what he said.
I know, but if somebody said, "Hey, straight up trade Daniel Jones for Lamar Jackson,"
where do I sign?
Yeah, who would not take that chance?
Somebody who doesn't.
It's like saying straight up trade LeBron James for Quentin Grimes.
Somebody who wants to get some attention would say something like that.
And somebody who also wants to get an interview with Daniel Jones, knowing that the Giants are not going to get Lamar Jackson, and he wants to be able to have him on his radio show to come next year.
There you go. That might be that might be the reason. So, all right. Getting out of the Giants camp, let's talk about something else. Let's talk about
How you doing, brother? Joe Douglas.
Hey, man,
I'm going to turn you over to Coach Sala.
Hey, yelling. I'm great, man. Blessed to be here, man.
Hey, man. Welcome to the family. Welcome to the family. Welcome to the family. Family.
My favorite part of this is the weird ice cream truck music in the background. It's the only reason why I still do this podcast is to listen to that. If I could get that on Spotify, I wouldn't be here anymore.
I believe the name of that music bed is Creepy Carnival or something along those lines.
It sounds like the crack trolley.
It's Timmy playing keys.
Well, what can you say about those Jets?
Yeah.
Well,
They're
I
back to being the Jets.
like watching them. I don't know why, but I like the Jets.
Yeah. How tough is Mike White? I mean, really.
Yeah.
Did you see some of the
Oh my
slow
God.
motion replays?
I've been broken in half.
That was
He
like
was.
a cartoon, right? That was like a cartoon where the guys
Hits him up in the
inside
back.
come out of his mouth and then go back in.
Yeah.
That was brutal.
Yeah,
I
the
feel
reality
bad
of
for
it
them.
is he can't take too much more of that. He's got to get the fuck out of the way.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, listen, if he plays well and he could get a contract somewhere else, he's definitely going to be earning it, and he should make sure they have a good medical staff wherever he ends up going. Here's the question for the New York Jets that I want to pose to you guys. Assuming he's going to play, because he certainly should. Who's your number 2
For this week?
Yeah.
Honestly,
Keep Zach Wilson demoted.
Wilson.
It's got to be Zach Wilson.
Zach Wilson. It's got to be.
Yeah.
Joe Flacco.
I mean,
can't Flacco's an emergency only.
I don't think Joe Flacco knows that he's on the Jets.
Yeah. Remember when Robert Saleh at the beginning of the season said, he's an NFL quarterback. He can play on a bunch of teams. Yeah.
Well, that's true. But I think it's got to be Zach Wilson.
It's got to be, right? Yeah. I mean, it's got to slowly. And here's the thing.
If he's available, then it's him.
Yeah, well, that's, there's been talk about he's making progress and, a better attitude and blah, blah, blah. Well, what does that even mean?
I think
Shane
Falco would be.
If you don't make him your number 2, then that's bullshit, right?
I think Shane Falco would be better than Joe Flacco right now.
Is that the Der Commissar?
No,
Falco,
right?
Anyone named Falco would be better than Flacco.
Don't turn around.
Uh-oh.
Joe Flacco's back in town. Uh-oh.
Oh no.
He's 93 and doesn't know why he's dropping back. Yeah. I mean, look. Jets. Who did the Jets play this week? The Lions.
Yeah.
Is this not the tale of? Doesn't this game kind of solidify who's the comeback team of the year?
Yeah.
I mean, this is an interesting game.
Honestly, to be honest with you, the NFL is stupid. This is the game that should have been flexed to prime time. They should have flexed the Giants and the Commanders to prime time. That was stupid. 2 big markets. Yeah. The Jets are pretty much, lest I checked, in the same market as the Giants.
Well, you got a division rivalry.
Yeah.
Still, yeah. I think there's a lot of people catching on and looking at Detroit right now, and the Jets are playing better football than the Giants are playing right now. So they have, their defense is better.
But they're both still losing.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Jets offense.
But at least the Jets are in the game.
Yeah, this one's a pick 'em. This one's a pick 'em.
It was disappointing. The loss to the Bills was disappointing, but Well, let me ask this overall.
Well, they lost to the Bills, but they almost won. I mean, that's the difference, is that you don't expect them to beat the Bills, but they gave them a game.
They won one of them and gave them a game for the second one.
And that's called progress.
They almost beat the Vikings the week before.
I know.
Yeah, listen, I've said.
And then the Vikings got lolly-lipped. Yeah.
Yeah, I've said a bunch of times. Listen, the Jets, given what's going on with their offensive line, right? This is a makeshift offensive line where guys are out and they're moving other guys around, and then that doesn't work out. They lost their, potentially all-pro rookie running back. They don't have him. They have a couple of guys that are filling in and doing a good job. Their quarterback of the future is, on the bench right now. So, they should be happy to be where they are, but it's still going to be disappointing if they don't, maybe at least get 1 or maybe 2 more wins here.
Well, this is a winnable game for them. It's going to be a tough. I think it's going to be a close game. I think, Detroit maybe has a little bit more momentum going into this. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they definitely do.
I think this is going to be a tough win for the Jets, believe it or not, but I do think that this is winnable, and I think they could win this game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like you said, it's a pick 'em. It's a pick 'em. So, but
Let's take a look at the remaining schedules. The schedules. Take a look at the old New York Jets. Let's play a little game. Let's do a little. That's a loss. That's a win. Let's play the Francesa game.
There you go.
All right. So, because I think this is one of the games we're going to pick this week anyway, right?
Yep. I think we're
all right. So,
4 games left in the season. Does it feel like it's
all right? So Detroit
playoffs.
Detroit, we're going to pick right this week. So, I think they're going to lose. Harry,
I think Detroit wins. Yeah,
Detroit, John.
Detroit.
Okay. Jacksonville after that, who's also on the up, maybe not the up and up, but they're playing a little bit better football. That should be a winnable game, though, right? Oh, I won't make us pick every game, but Jacksonville should be a winnable game, right?
Mm-hmm.
So maybe one.
Jacksonville, and those are both home games for the Jets too.
Although look at Jacksonville last week.
You know? Yeah, that's what I mean. They might have found a little something here. If the Jets lose to Detroit, right? Then okay, they beat the Bills, then they lost a tough one to the Patriots, beat Chicago, who cares? Lost tough to Minnesota, lost tough to Buffalo, lost to Detroit. They're on the slide. Jacksonville on the way up. So It's winnable. Then you got Seattle. In Seattle.
I think they'll actually beat Seattle. I think that's the game the Jets win, believe it or not.
Seattle might have plateaued, actually. They're not quite looking, and see if, Geno Smith is for real. And then you got Miami week 18.
Mm-hmm. And that might be a meaningless game. You just don't know. Maybe probably not. But if it is, that could also be another win.
Yeah, that might be the game where they suck it up and pull it together and beat the most hated rivals in the Dolphins.
Look, I think Miami's looking beatable by the Jets right now, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Are the Dolphins really the Jets' most hated rivals? The Patriots are?
For me, they are.
For you, they are. Okay.
For me, they are.
That's a good question. I mean, I think the Giants and the Jets, I don't know. I mean, I guess you have to say it's Dallas with the Giants, right?
For me, it's Dallas with the Giants, yeah. A lot of people will tell you for them it's the Eagles, but not for me. It's Dallas for the Giants.
Yeah. I think with the Jets, too, it's, it could be, well, it's probably, I thought it was New England, but yeah.
People will say New England, but the thing about that is
the Miami rivalry goes way back, though.
Yeah, Miami goes way back. New England was shitty for a long time when the Jets were not necessarily good, And then it's been domination for how many games now?
Miami was relevant in the 70s. Miami was relevant in the 80s. Miami
in the
was
80s,
in the 90s.
Right. In the 80s, the Jets and Dolphins were both pretty good for a big chunk of that. Where New England...
The Dolphins were almost always a little
New England was up and down,
Yeah. So, I mean, for me, it's...
But ironically, out of all 3 teams in the 80s, the only one that went to a Super Bowl was New England. So.
Right. What was that, 85?
85 year season, yeah.
All right, so for the Giants, you got Washington. That's a winnable game.
Mm-hmm.
You got Minnesota, who I think we can all agree is not as good as.
Yeah, the Giants aren't beating Minnesota. The Giants aren't winning either of those 2 games.
I don't think they can stop Minnesota's offense, right? You got the Colts.
That's a winnable game for the Giants.
That's a winnable game.
It's the Giants' only other home game.
Yeah, and that's I have that marked as the Giants' last win of the season.
So you might get one. You might beat Washington. You might beat the Colts. Now, what if Week 18 against the Eagles is meaningless for the Eagles?
Then maybe the Giants get a gift and get a
Giants could be 10. Giants could be 10-6-1.
You might win 3 games.
Get a garbage time game. I think 2 is the max. But even with 2, look. The other thing too is I think if it means the Giants go into the playoffs. I think, and it's meaningless for the Eagles. I think the Eagles still play that game, especially because that means they're going to have a week off. So if they rest everybody, then
the Giants,
right? And it's the Giants, and they probably don't want them in. Who knows? Maybe they do want them in the playoffs.
I don't know.
It depends on.
I don't know who's a bigger
keeps out.
I don't know who's a bigger rival for the Eagles than the Giants.
Here's the thing, though. If the Eagles, here's the thing, and it could be strategy. Harry, you could be onto something. If the Eagles do lock up the number 1 seed, and if the Giants, as it's shaping up, if the Giants win that game against the Eagles, they got the number 7 seed. All right. Now, for all intents and purposes, they're not winning their playoff game, right? But if they do, no matter what, the Eagles' first playoff game is against the Giants. So,
Right now, the Giants have the last playoff spot, and the people behind them right now are Seattle and Detroit. Green Bay, 2 games back. So,
yeah, I mean, if Seattle loses this week and the Jets win, the Giants could lose this game and still be in that spot. Still be in the last playoff.
Yeah, I mean, you still could see, I think, Dallas. I mean, the Giants and Washington, along with Dallas, going.
You could
all making the playoffs.
Feasibly have the entire NFC East in the playoffs this year.
So let's ask this question,
but
only because I don't. Yeah.
If they don't make the playoffs, right? Now I know we say the same thing about the Jets. We weren't expecting much from them, right?
Sure.
But if they don't make it, weren't they like 6-1 at one point?
The Giants.
Giants. 6-1.
Yeah, and now they're 7-5-1. Now, if they don't make them, I mean, isn't it kind of a disappointment?
No, this season's already a success. I think the Giants,
no matter what happens, so they get close. So they overachieved, and then they came back to earth, and that's fine.
7 or 8 wins with a new coach who's still dealing with.
How many wins did they have last year?
4.
How many? 4?
Giants had 4
or 5. They had 4. Oh, okay. I thought they had 5. All right. So they just 3 more wins is a success.
Well, I think they'll win 1 more. I think they'll double the amount of wins that they have.
Okay. And that's what I said about the Jets. I would.
And look, a tie also means that they've more than they've cut their losses by more than half.
Right.
Right. I mean, it does.
They didn't lose. You're right. They didn't lose that one. All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
There you go. All right. Interesting to think about. Interesting topics. We'll keep.
I'm not saying I don't think it's a disappointment, only because I think we all saw the eventual return to reality with the Giants.
Right.
At least I did.
Well, you did. I think there's a lot of people.
Well, you know what? I mean, honestly, though, when you think about it,
I still think it's a successful season.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that it wouldn't have happened, right? But injuries had a little to do with it. All right.
There's other excuses.
Yeah. You know, I mean, if they weren't injured at all, okay, if they weren't injured at all, it's highly likely they do actually win the Lions game. And it's highly likely they do actually win that Commanders game. So now instead of 7-5-1, they're 9-4.
Look at their schedule, though, and who they've played. And some of the teams that were supposedly tough teams in the beginning of the season have proven to be pretty crappy.
Right.
So,
well, 6-1, whatever. I'm just talking about the record. That's all. I don't care who they won and didn't win to. Just those 2 games specifically. Those 2 games specifically. Right. All right. If they didn't, if their 2 starting corners didn't go down, if their offensive line didn't get screwed up, if Daniel Bellinger didn't get hit in the eye and be out for 5 games, and if all of these things, and if they actually had, and the wide receivers they had, Sterling Shepard, a couple others, whatever, if they actually keep them on the field. I know this is a what if, right? My father always used to say, if the bear didn't stop to take a shit in the woods, he would have caught the rabbit, right? But
no other teams have dealt with injuries.
No, I know. I'm talking about the Giants. All right,
I get it. We get your point.
Two games. The Lions, that they didn't get blown out by the Lions, and the Lions. Look, the Lions are putting together. They're a good team, and we've said it for a while now. But those players still back on the field. Giants should have won that game. So that's another win. And the Commanders game that they blew and wound up tying, they win that game. So instead of 7-5-1, they're 9-4. Now, even if they're winning one other game, even if they're only going to win the Colts game, they're winning 10 games. And they're probably getting in the playoffs. That's all I'm saying.
I think 9 gets them in the playoffs. I think you're right, though. Yeah. I mean, they very easily could have done that. I'm looking less at the wins and losses and just looking at because last year when they won 4 games, they had a bunch of injuries too.
Right.
So I still think, all things considered, you have to say that this season has been a incredible success.
Mm-hmm.
And they're building on it.
Yeah.
And it's going to be interesting to see what they do in the offseason. We'll see.
I guess you could say at least they have a shot at the playoffs, right? Which they had shot last year. So if you that's so you know what? Yeah, that's.
I think they have to
say it's a success. Yeah.
I think they have to lose every game from this point out to not make the playoffs. I think if they win one more game, they make the playoffs. I really do.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Only because I can't see a lot of the teams underneath, with the exception of maybe Detroit. I don't know. They have a long way to go, though. They've only got, so we'll see.
It's just crazy to think that 2 years ago, the worst division in the entire NFL was the NFC East. The Giants, if the Eagles had won that last game, and we've talked about it against the Commanders, right. Well, against the football team that year, right? If the Eagles had won that game, and Doug Peterson didn't throw in the towel, so to speak, and then get fired over it, the Giants win the NFC East at 5-11.
Yeah.
All right. So, and as it was, the Washington won the division at 6-10. So, but anyway,
it's pretty hard not to go.
2 years ago, the worst division in the NFL was the NFC East. Right now, you could say, because of the seeding and everything else of the playoffs, the best division in the NFL is the NFC East. So, just weird, I mean,
there's only 7 teams in the entire NFC that have a winning record.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah, that's what I mean.
And 4 of the 7 are in the NFC East.
Tampa Bay could go to the playoffs with a losing record.
Other than Minnesota, the entire NFC North has. Detroit has been a surprise, but Chicago and Green Bay have been major disappointments.
Mm-hmm.
The entire NFC South has been a complete shit show.
Mm-hmm.
And other than the 49ers, Seattle's a little bit of a surprise, but who would have thought that the Cardinals and the Rams would both be, looking at double-digit losses? I mean, that's crazy.
Well, look out for the Rams, though. Look out for the Rams.
Right, they're 4-9.
No.
4-9. Look out for them to get.
Look out for them.
Halfway to 500 by the end of the season.
Look out for them.
You think they have a chance to make the playoffs?
Well, with the quarterback they got now.
Oh yeah. Well, I see where you're going.
Time for a resurgence.
Yeah, he won him a game. That's something that.
How did that happen though? He was on the team for 2 days.
He wasn't even on the team when the game started.
He wasn't there yet.
No, he got there at halftime.
Yeah, there was a bus that pulled up outside the stadium.
Right, he took an Uber and they got lost for coming from the airport.
It took him longer for him to pick a number than it did to read the playbook.
If you notice, his pants were still the Carolina Panthers.
Right, yeah.
They were khakis, weren't they?
That's it.
Yeah.
And a pair of khakis on.
Yeah. It was the what do you call it? What Farmers Insurance Red?
It was Jake.
It was Jake from State Farm.
Baker from State Farm.
That's right.
Baker Mayfield from State Farm.
All right. Should we do some picks, or do we want to talk about anything?
I think that's I want to bring up one other thing, which is you mentioned the Bucks and everything else, and you mentioned the 49ers. Brock Purdy.
Pretty good.
Pretty good. You texted us the other day. This quarterback's pretty good, huh? Mr. Irrelevant, screw that. I mean, I'll post it to the Facebook page, and I'll share it on Instagram too. There was I guess it was Bleacher Report. I think it was Bleacher Report or Gridiron, or somebody put it up before. I sent it to you guys. It was a cartoon version of the Santa Claus, but it was with Brock Purdy and the 49ers and everything else. It's pretty funny. You got to look at it. But yeah, kudos to him, man. That's awesome. And Trey Lance keeps sitting there saying, now what?
Well, is Jimmy G, because I've heard conflicting reports, and I'll be honest, I haven't really been paying much attention to the news this week. Is Jimmy G now officially out for the remainder of the season?
I believe he is. Yeah, it's a broken foot, right?
Because he was, then he wasn't, and
we can double check right now, but I'm pretty sure that he's out.
Yeah, I mean, wouldn't this be great if the 49ers go to another NFC Championship game with Brock Purdy?
That would be interesting. That would certainly be interesting.
It's possible. I
And
mean, the
49ers,
defense is going to.
he would be out. The 49ers quarterback would be out for at least 3 months. So, yeah, he's out for the rest of the season.
Okay.
So, there you go.
I mean, look, I think it's – look, I think this year the 49ers were better with Garoppolo than Lance. And who long-term, maybe Trey Lance is the answer. That was a big loss for the 49ers. Are they a better team with Purdy? I mean, time will tell. But looking at the NFC, looking at Minnesota crap in the bed last week.
But did you?
I mean, does this just not open the door for the Eagles?
Of course it does.
Oh yeah,
of course it does.
Definitely.
I mean, the Eagles have roller skating through the Super Bowl written all over this right now.
And if anybody out there thinks that Dallas is going to be a challenge,
well, listen. Here's the I don't. If which team has the defense that might be able to stop or at least slow down the Eagles?
The 49ers.
49ers.
Yeah.
49ers, yeah.
So,
how awesome would that storyline be that Brock Purdy comes in and the 49ers win the first Super Bowl for the 49ers since 1995?
The AFC is a different story.
Timeout. I'm just saying.
Yes, it would be great.
Everybody
loves a Purdy good
story like that. But
Cinderella story.
Purdy Cinderella story. There you go. Yeah. But anyway, and ironically though, Brock Purdy's family was at the game. They bought tickets months ago because they wanted to see Tom Brady play. Right. And they got to see their son beat Tom Brady.
He's the first guy who ever beat Tom Brady in his first start.
That's right. Yep. The irony in all of this is that he's not the Purdy quarterback on the 49ers.
No.
Yeah, that's true. He's Purdy, but he ain't Purdy.
He ain't porn star Jimmy Purdy.
No.
That's right.
On that note, what's up with the Bucs? I mean, do they turn around from this? Is this Bowles?
Well, they're going to make the playoffs.
No, I know, but is this Todd Bowles? Like they're going to win the game. It's Todd Bowles, right?
Yeah. It's Todd Bowles and injuries and guys getting old and them not being able to keep some players there. Brady's still, I think, third in the league in passing or something, but he doesn't have much around him, and their offensive line has been miserable all year, and they lost some big names. They had some injuries, and they don't have the same defensive, prowess that they did last year. So
I think it's safe. Look, they're minus 30 in net points. Okay, they're 0-4 outside of their conference,
right?
Of which the next closest team is either the Panthers or the Falcons. At only a win back, but you would think of both of those teams of much lesser caliber than Tampa Bay.
Well, yeah, the highlight of this season
have come in conference against lousy other teams.
The highlight of their year was coming back, having to come back against New Orleans. That was the highlight of their season.
Exactly. Yeah. So they're not good.
They're not good.
Somebody actually said the other day that they could see. I heard this. I'm not making this up. I heard this. They could see Tom Brady taking a 1-year deal to come and rejuvenate the Giants.
Well, Tom Brady's been linked to the 49ers for 1 year. Tom Brady's been linked to who else was it? They got Aaron Rodgers now going to the 49ers for a year. There was somebody else that Brady was linked to. I can't remember who it was. Who knows? I can't remember now.
No.
Yeah, of course the Giants.
Of
course the Giants would get him when he's 52.
Right. Of course.
Let's see here. So coming off their drubbing at the hands of the aforementioned. So they have the Bengals. That's a loss, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
They got the Cardinals. Sans Kyler Murray. That might be a win.
Mm-hmm.
They got Carolina, who's going to be absolutely gunning for them, but Carolina's terrible too. And then they got Atlanta, Week 18. You got to figure they're going to lose one of those 2 division games, right?
I think they go 3-1. I think they round it out. I think they go 9-8.
So lose to the Bengals and sweep 16, 17, and 18?
Yep.
Well, we'll see. Why don't we talk about that in a little beaten by the coin?
There you go.
All right.
All right.
Let's do it. By the coin.
I'm sure I'll lose.
No one wants to be beaten by the coin.
Well, I told you guys it was going to get it.
What happened to your mic?
Yes.
Oh, there you go.
There we go.
Yeah.
My mic's got a condom on it now.
Oh, look at that.
Condom.
You're pregnant, safe.
Keeps me from getting pregnant.
There you go.
Keeps it from going too far up your ass.
Yeah, exactly. So this week was not a good week for anybody, really. Harry came out the leading
3-3, right? Yeah, rough.
3-3. Yeah, even up 3-3. Yours truly in the coin 2-4. Johnny
Sucking eggs.
1-5, and now almost hopelessly out of it at 42-38.
At this point,
Harry,
I just have to pick everything the opposite of Harry.
You are 5 games ahead of the coin, John.
Mm-hmm. I could
You
lose.
gotta be.
I could lose
gotta
to the
be-
coin.
You got to be careful. And Harry's still 2 games back of me. No, just kidding. We're tied.
Are we?
Yeah, we are. I went 2-4. You went 3-3. I lost the Pittsburgh game. Was the difference between us?
Yeah. It was a tough week. A lot of upsets.
Yeah, definitely.
I was very upset.
Yeah, you.
Yeah.
Don't count.
So anyway,
I have more faith in you than the Rams.
Fair enough.
so as we head into week 15, let's let me write down here the important stuff. Let's take a look at the games we're picking for this week. As
right.
we have done, we are picking the New York Giants at the Washington Communists.
These games, Harry. You wrote them in reverse, by the way, like the exact reverse order that they're being played in, too.
Oh yeah, that's right. Doesn't matter. We don't have to.
Jesus Christ, you then rearrange them. I wrote them on a napkin and texted.
I had to look at 2 different things, and it was gonna. Oh, that's what that is.
Well, that's why I like
wrote
it.
the Gettysburg Address on a napkin.
It's only 6 games.
30 games ago.
All right, New York Giants visiting the Washington Communists. John, who do you like?
I know Harry's taking the Commanders, so I'm taking the Giants.
All right,
Hey, but picking opposite has not done you well, has it?
Well, I'm gonna try. See. Well, I mean, picking the same, even if you win, I win. It's not getting me anywhere.
Oh, okay, I got you.
Yeah. Harry, you like Washington?
I do.
I like Washington as well.
Mm-hmm.
And the coin says tails, so coin likes the Giants. So
Great.
Johnny and the coin together again.
Johnny and the coin.
Johnny and the coin.
Cincinnati visiting Tampa Bay. Harry?
I mean, you got to go with the Bengals, but doesn't this have Tampa Bay just upset written all over it? Yeah,
it does.
But at home, Joe. Yeah, I think Cincinnati is peaking. I really do. I'm gonna take the Bengals.
I'm gonna take the Bengals too. John?
Buccaneers.
And the coin.
I mean, look,
likes the Bucks.
If you did this 2 weeks ago, you would have been like 6-0.
So. I know.
Yeah.
I should have done this last week. I would have went 5-1.
Listen, the coin had a couple of good weeks. When
right?
It was
On the weeks when nothing made sense, the coin. Had
exactly. All right. Tennessee visiting the Clippers of Los Angeles.
God. The Los Angeles teams just have fucked me every year, year after year after year.
I am going to take the Clippers.
I'm going to take the Chargers too.
Yeah, because they're not the Rams.
Yeah, I just.
John, who do you like?
I am taking the Titans, and I'm literally taking the Titans. That's not just because I need to pick opposite of.
Yeah, I'm tempted to take the Titans, but.
Yeah. By the way, I picked these games because they're actually the hardest games to pick this week.
Yeah. They're not easy. Not easy. All right, coin says tails, which is the Tennessee. Wow.
John
and the coin are in lockstep so far.
Lovely.
All right, New England and Las
Isn't that
Vegas.
special?
The coin also has a Christmas hat on.
New England and Las Vegas in Vegas. Harry?
Again, this is just a. I'm going to take the Patriots. I think the Patriots are going to win this game.
John?
I really don't want to pick Vegas.
John's going to
But you don't have to make it all up in 1 week, John. We're all
I'm going with the Patriots.
We got 4 more weeks of regular season and the
going-
whole playoffs.
I'm going with the Patriots.
All right. Although, with this strategy, this is a make or break week. If you're not halfway back after this week, you'll be.
No, you're right. You're right. Yeah, but the Raiders aren't. Well, they're home. Get back to me. Pick yours first.
All right, I'm going to take Las Vegas because I agree with all of Harry's picks, but we have to have some difference. So we can't just go tied.
Yeah.
I can't allow that to happen.
All right, I'm gonna
blowing the lead.
I'll take the Raiders too. Then I'll take the Raiders.
By the way, for those listening out there, usually, not always, but usually I make my picks first, which sometimes puts me at a disadvantage, but that's what Pete is referring to.
Right.
Yeah, but I'm not gonna play that game.
Yeah.
Not this week.
So you're taking the Raiders, Pete?
I'm taking the Raiders.
All right.
And the coin, oh boy. Coin says heads, which is the home team. So the
Las
coin
Vegas.
Vegas as well.
I'm out on
Harry's
an
on an island. There we go. All right, Detroit at the New York Jets. I'm taking Detroit. I'm not going to pick the Jets. I may not pick the Jets to win again this year.
I want the Jets to win, but I'm taking Detroit too.
All right. John?
I'm taking the Jets. Again, like the Titans, because I'm picking the Jets. The Lions are gonna. It's a pick 'em as it is.
It's gonna be a good game. It's gonna
Yeah.
be a good game.
Yeah.
I think these two teams are the most fun, positive, maybe along with the Giants, the most two fun, positive stories of the NFL season.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right. So Johnny likes the Jets, and the coin likes the Detroit Lions, the away team.
Well, look at that.
So John's on an island there. All right, finally, Baltimore and Cleveland. John, you get to pick this one first.
I will tell you right now, I am taking the Browns.
Taking Cleveland.
Does anybody know? Do we have any new information on Lamar Jackson's stats?
Zero new information.
Yeah. I'm going to go out on a limb, no pun intended, and say that he's going to play. And I think, look, if Baltimore without him beat the Broncos, I think they could beat Cleveland without him. Baltimore wins by maybe a point.
All right, I'm going to also take Baltimore. I don't know if he's coming back or not. I don't think it makes a difference. I think they win either way.
It makes a big difference.
Well, maybe by how much, but. And the coin says heads. They like the Cleveland Browns.
Lovely.
So there we go. So John, with the exception of the Jets and Detroit game, you are in lockstep with the coin.
Isn't
5
that
out of
special?
6.
Could be a big week.
Well,
could wind up taking over the lead.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm that. I don't know if that's enough to get me back into the lead, but
That could. We're all pretty bunched up.
If you, let me see. How many could you? Well, you'd be, you'd pick up 6 games on Harry.
I would.
And you'd pick up 5 games on me.
Oh no, not 6. I think we picked 1 or 2 the same, didn't we? No, you went you went opposite of me on every one.
Total opposite of you.
And
And 3 of them I was picking anyway.
Okay.
The other 3 were I just picked because you picked the other team. So. I was picking the Titans, the Jets, and the Browns regardless.
All right.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, there you go.
Bad news, John, is if you win all 6, you'll still only be 7 games ahead of the coin.
That's true.
Oh no, that's not true. It'll be 8 because they took Detroit. The coin took Detroit, so
they took Detroit.
So you'll pick up.
Hey, look, the coin's doing
Harry,
better this
5
year.
5 on me and 5 on the coin.
The coin, I mean, what's your and I's percentage? Are we about 70%, 65%?
50 out of 80.
Oh,
So,
So yeah, 60%, 65%. Yeah,
It's not bad. It's not
Mhm.
bad.
not bad at all.
right.
Yeah.
Let's see. What's 30 divided by 50?
62.5%.
Yeah. And there you have it.
Pretty good. You can make a living off that.
That's pretty good.
Charge
Right.
people a subscription.
Well, there you go.
Mhm. All right. Cool. And the music ended perfect timing.
Uh,
So
And
there
there
we
you have
go.
it.
Beaten by the coin.
Beaten by the coin. All right. We want to talk basketball at all?
no.
Nothing going on. Jalen Brunson got hurt the other day.
I will say this. Look at your Brooklyn Nets.
Mm-hmm.
17, 18 wins coming up on the East. Don't count them out.
Yeah, they lost 2 in a row, though, didn't they?
Yeah, it does. No, I don't think so. Maybe. I didn't check yesterday, but
Yeah, they lost the last 2.
I haven't looked at the NBA in a week.
Brooklyn Nets. No, I'm sorry. My bad. The streak is they've won 4 in a row.
there you go.
Okay, so they lost 2 before they won the 4 in a row. That's
Yeah, well, look at where they're at.
4th in the East.
Yeah, Celtics have won 7 of 10. Milwaukee 8 of 10. Cleveland is 500, and Brooklyn's won 8 of 10.
You see who else has won 4 in a row too?
The New York Knicks. That's right.
The Knicks.
And they're winning. They're winning right now.
They're winning right now, and the Nets are in 4th. The Knicks are in 6th.
There you go.
Right.
Man, Chicago's been a disappointment this year so far.
Yep.
So far.
And and Miami too. Game under 500.
Mm-hmm.
And look who's in first place in the West. Somebody said that this team was going to be really
and the
good this
Grizzlies.
year.
And the Grizzlies are getting back to
Right.
form too.
Yeah, they're right there.
And
the
Denver's right
Nuggets
there as well.
Even without Michael Porter Jr. for a long stretch of time. But
That's true.
I think Jokic already has a triple-double in the second quarter. But we don't want to talk about him. We want to talk about Draymond Green.
A triple-double in the second quarter.
Well, he does almost. Yeah. It's halftime. I don't know. My computer is on its last leg and does not like the ESPN app right now.
I gotcha. Let's go to the NBA.
It is halftime, and Nikola Jokic has 18 points, 8 rebounds, and 6 assists. He's plus 13.
There you go. And there you have it.
There you have it. I'll tell you what, Boston looks good.
They do. They do look really good. They look like the shit, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Or the shizzle, as some of the kids say.
I don't think they say that anymore.
They don't say that anymore.
The kids from the early 2000s.
The kids from the late 90s.
Yeah.
The kids born in the
When Snoop said it in the early 90s.
Those 43-year-old kids are still saying it.
Right.
And look, I don't know if we have anything for hockey, but congrats to
that's really the only story.
Ovechkin. 800 goals, 3rd all time.
Yep.
I mean, you start an all-time team. I don't know. It's hard to keep him off.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Well, listen, one more, and he's in the number 2 spot with
Number
Gordie
2.
now, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
now here's some other things about Ovechkin. I saw this here. 29th career hat trick.
Yeah.
Gretzky is in first, of course. How many does Gretzky have? Any idea?
62.
50.
50. Okay.
So he's got a ways to go there. But this 29th moves him out of a tie with Bobby Hull and Marcel Dion, who I actually met in Canada.
Very nice.
A diner and a memorabilia shop up there. He's a really nice guy.
Gretzky has 50 hat tricks for a guy who was, not known as only a scorer. That's what's crazy about it.
Right.
Yeah. So the second goal was Ovechkin's 292nd career power play goal, which he owns the record for that, which I think he took over that about a year ago.
Mm-hmm.
And
more playoff games. The playoffs. There's more games in the playoffs these days. But yeah.
Yep. So I think it's completely. He's 37. I think it's plausible he could catch Wayne Gretzky.
It's definitely plausible he could catch him. Sure,
He's
absolutely.
90 some odd goals. He's got 30 goals, I think, already this season.
He hasn't slowed down.
No.
Oh.
But the question is, let's say he surpasses him, right? I mean, he could have
In goals,
900 and something when it's all said and done, right?
Right.
Mhm.
Plays another 3 or 4 years. And again, he's going to get presumably a bunch more now this season. We're not that far into the season. Could he ever surpass the great one as far as overall greatness without the championship resume, of course?
No.
It's going to be the thing that holds him
I mean,
back.
I think he's up there, but is he?
If he wins another cup,
I mean, no.
they get 2 cups and he scores, let's say, 40 or 50 more goals than Gretzky.
Mm-hmm.
And you then say, I don't know, man.
Well, it's also how many games, did he do it in? Yeah. I mean, how far is he back? I mean, he's up there in goals. Where is he in points?
That's a good question.
He's 18th in points. He's played 1,305 games, so he still has 100 and something games to go. Because Gretzky played 1,487 games. So he's got 150 plus games on him. But I mean, Gretzky's got 2,857 points, and no one's even close. I mean, Jaromir Jagr's 1921. So yeah, he's getting close in goals, but Gretzky's overall game. I mean, I think there's less of an argument in hockey than there is in basketball about who's the best ever. It's just, you talk about guys like Jaromir Jagr. I mean, Messier's third in points.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a guy who had 694 goals. Gordie Howe at 1850. Messier passed Gordie Howe. Ron Francis, 1,798 points with only 549 goals. I mean, so he's second, I think, all time in assists behind Gretzky.
It's probably going to take another 2 years for Ovechkin to surpass 900 because he's got 20 already this year. And in the last 5 years before this, at 50 last year, 20 in 2020, 2021, but that was then. 48 the year before, 51 the year before that, 49 the year before that. So figure if he's hovering around between 40 and 50, let's say, and he's already got 20, it's going to give him another 20 this year. It's probably going to take another 2 seasons and he'll hit 900.
By the way, he just passed Brian Trottier on the all-time points list.
Yeah,
Trottier being 19th. I mean that. Yeah, I think
here's another thing. At age 35, Ovechkin had 730 goals. Gretzky had 837. So in the last, that's right. So now that's a good 70
behind
70 goals over the last couple of years for Ovechkin,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Right.
So he's still, Gretzky in the last 3 years of his career only scored about 60, and Ovechkin's still got a few more years left.
Well, and
depending on
Ovechkin,
how long he played.
Ovechkin's had a couple of years where he's had 100 points, but his average, he had 1 year. His average has been in the around 90 for the last few years, 87, 89. He had 1 year where he was down to 67. So I mean, as far
I
as
don't think he's never had the
I don't think he's ever
numbers, right?
No, he's never going to catch him in points. And goals, if you look at his goals, he had 51 in 18-19. He had 48. I mean, he had 50 last year.
950 goal seasons in his career.
Yeah, even if he does high 40s, let's say he does 45 goals for the next 3 years. I mean, that's 140 something goals. So does that get him close? No.
140 goals, that puts him over.
Yeah. So he could pass him for goals.
Yeah, I think that's your answer. I think your answer is, yeah, he's probably going to pass Gretzky in goals, but that's about it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, he needs 30. He needs to. Let's say he plays 3 more seasons after this. He needs 30 goals. Even if let's say he plays 2 more seasons, let's say he gets 50 goals this year.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that puts him at 850, so he's 44 behind.
At 830, puts him at 830.
Yeah. So even if he has a 225 goal seasons after that, he passes him. Mm-hmm. I think he's going to pass him, barring knock on wood, barring a injury or something. But he hasn't really slowed down. I mean, yeah, obviously I know 38 is different than 37, 39 is different than 37. 40's getting up there. But how old was Wayne Gretzky when he finished playing? I think he was also 40, wasn't he?
40 or 41 years.
Yeah. Ovechkin's he's a different kind of player too. He's looked the same for the last 5 years. I don't notice a big difference in his abilities. That's for sure.
Well, we get to watch it happen. Maybe. Knock wood. Hope he stays healthy.
No. Hold on. He was 38 when he retired.
38.
Greg Gretzky. Mm-hmm.
So over the last 3 seasons of his career, he scored 60 some odd goals.
Right.
So Ovechkin could do that in 100 games.
Pretty much.
You never know.
Interesting. He'll probably. You're right. Yeah, he'll probably, if he stays healthy, he'll probably get the goals record. But he just doesn't have the assists. And like Harry said, I think he's got 4 100-point seasons. And
I think he's become a little bit more likable too over the years. I mean, I don't necessarily think that he ever, is going to become the face of the NHL. That's for sure.
No.
He's kind of a villain to some,
But Washington's been, kind of sad sack, relevant for part of his career, but pretty irrelevant for part of it too. So it was a nice. I mean, even for him, even for people who hate him, it was still kind of a nice story when they won the cup.
Yeah, it was great. I mean, that was their first cup, wasn't it?
I think so.
I think it was. I don't think
the first one in.
I don't think the Capitals ever won the cup before.
Yeah, it might have been the first one they ever won. So
yeah, I could be wrong. Jimmy, check that out.
Yeah. Anyway, only thing. Anything else for hockey?
I'm just checking it really quick. I think you're right. I think they. Yep, just the one. 2018, just the one.
There you go.
I seem to remember. I was remembered some other conference champions because they were in the conference championship back in the late 90s. For some reason, I wasn't thinking that. But anyway,
so, he's definitely a hero to Capitals fans. That's for sure.
Yeah.
All right.
Alrighty.
I think we're good.
See you guys. See you in February.
One thing we have to mention.
Please do.
There's a little game the rest of the world plays that we don't play quite as well, the World Cup.
Pickleball?
The World Cup.
No, we're big in pickleball. We might be one of the world. Another 2 years, we'll be the world leader in pickleball.
Well, we're definitely not the leader in hide the pickle, though.
No. France and Argentina in the final. France looking to become back-to-back champions. I think the great story of this tournament is teams like Croatia and Morocco, who both made it to the finals. Teams like South Korea, who went farther than people thought they would. And, Brazil kind of getting knocked out and Portugal getting knocked out. And
we've got a good mix of communist, fascist, and socialist, nations all coming together.
Yeah, there was somebody to root for in almost every game.
That's right.
And
on that note, let me ask you guys this question really quick. Last week, I think it was last Thursday, maybe Wednesday. Last week, Wednesday. It was Wednesday. Poland was playing a game and Mexico was playing a game
at the same time.
Yeah, 2 different games.
Okay.
And Mexico actually won. I believe they won their game, and Poland lost. I forget the exact parameters. But the bottom line is They wound up in a tie for seeding, and there could only be one, and they had to go to tiebreakers. And
So
they got through 6 levels of tiebreakers, and
then it was best cuisine,
and it was who had chili cook-off. It was a chili
pierogies versus tacos.
No, it was
Kraut versus chili.
Right. It went to the 7th layer of tiebreaker, and that 7th layer of tiebreaker was
refried beans.
Was refried beans right now was penalties, yellow cards.
Mm.
Whoever had more yellow cards was out.
Oh, I thought that was good.
And
not surprising, it was Mexico.
It was Mexico, right?
So Poland advanced.
Poland had 4 yellow cards. Mexico had 6 yellow cards. Mexico's out. Poland advances. I mean, think about that. Think about this. Last wild card spot for your team, and it goes all the way down to tiebreakers. It gets to the 7th level of tiebreakers, and they say, "All right, all season long, how many penalties did one team have and the other team have?" And we'll let that be. I mean, seriously, I think that's a little. How about a? I
think they should have had their 3 best players all compete for in a game of Wheel of Fortune.
Done
in a neutral language like Swedish.
I don't know. I guess they run out of. Well, I mean, I think your point is well taken, because that's a subjective thing, right? As a penalty always is, a yellow card,
right?
That's at the referee's discretion.
It's exactly the referee's discretion. Exactly, and this is my point, right? And
now this was in the World Cup.
In the World Cup,
in the World Cup,
in the World Cup, I saw a penalty on Saturday. And who was playing? Was it France? It was France and England, and there was definitely tripping on France, but their feet got tied up, and you saw it. And the referee gave a yellow card to England, so it should have been a France yellow card. It was an England yellow card. Obviously, France won the game, but whatever. But and I'm not even saying for that game. But my point comes back to that. It's subjective, like you said. So what happens if 3 of those 7 yellow cards that Mexico got were erroneous, that they shouldn't have gotten, and the 4 that Poland did get, maybe they should have gotten an extra one? Now all of a sudden it's up to the refs who wins the game.
Yeah, the only thing in there that defense of that I can say is that because it's within the World Cup, it's a set group of referees. So you would think that it would be more
equally good or bad, consistently good
right,
or bad
and
for.
Yeah, then if they had included the qualifying rounds for the cup, let's say,
right,
well, that could be a whole nother. So I think you're right. It's weird because it is subjective, but I guess there's only so many. I have to look up what all the tiebreakers are, but there's only so many statistics, I guess.
There's so many. Yeah, but can't they just say, okay, well, you know what? We've gone all the way down to the 9th level of criteria for tiebreaker. You're gonna have to. It's gonna have to be a 1-game playoff.
No, because then you've got a
shootout. I mean, I'm sure the players from Mexico, and I'm not sticking it for Mexico and putting Poland down by any means. Whatever, it is what it is. But just in general, could be any team. I'm sure the players of the team that would have lost to the yellow cards would rather, kick shootout goals. Just, come on in. We're gonna kick these goals to see who advances. You know what I mean? I mean, it's as random as picking yellow cards, isn't it?
Well, yeah, and the other problem, of course, is, I mean, you could say, well, you're being rewarded because you played a cleaner game, right? Poland, you've played cleaner throughout the tournament,
right?
But soccer is so rife with corruption, and bullshit, that it's not inconceivable. I mean, I'm sure there are plenty of people who feel that the refs are in it, and it's
what's great about all this?
Look who's in the final. It's 2 of the better teams, of course, but
France and Argentina.
France and Argentina.
Argentina.
I mean, the whole world's rooting for France.
It was going to end up that way, one way or the other. So,
I mean, other than Argentina, maybe nobody wants Argentina to win except Argentina.
Maybe
Viva la France.
Maybe they should have the coaches have like a juggling contest or something.
I mean, the good thing about all of this.
I'm fine with that.
The good thing about all of this is that we won't have to talk about soccer again for 4 years.
That's true.
Yeah. But
Well,
we should talk about it now.
I mean, hey, the World Cup back in '98. I mean, the Jets got a place kicker out of it.
Yeah. And he's marginally not. I can't say he was any better a place kicker than he was a goalie.
Remember his name?
Tony Meola.
Very good. Remember where he's from?
That was
Jersey.
Tony Meola actually played in the '92 World Cup.
No.
He played in the 1990 World Cup is what he played in.
Was it the 9th? It was the '98 World Cup.
No, it was the '90 World Cup because I saw him play in Italy against Italy on the U.S. team.
Okay, fair enough. All right. Well, I knew it wasn't the '94 World Cup, so I took one way or the other.
It was 1990, and John Harkes was on that team, and so was Tab Ramos.
John Starks was on that team?
John Hart.
Yeah, Starks went 0 for 18 in shots on goal.
My point being is that 3 of the starters on the U.S. team have ties to Kearney, New Jersey.
Yeah.
At that time.
There you go.
Well, Ramos was pretty good.
There you go.
They were all pretty good. I mean, I think they lost to Italy 1-0 or 2-1. I can't remember. Germany beat Italy in the finals that year.
Yeah, Meola wasn't very good though. I don't think
I didn't know he was a kicker for the Jets.
Yeah, he was place kicker for the Jets the year after.
Who was the quarterback from Harrison? It was a quarterback for the Jets.
I don't know. Good question.
A couple years later, late 90s maybe. His brother was also quarterback for Harrison, I think. Wasn't he like a walk-on for the Jets? Third string quarterback, played a little bit. Harrison, New Jersey. I don't know. Whatever.
We'll have to look. Hang on, let's
Browning
find out.
Nagel.
Browning Nagel. There you go.
New Jet quarterbacks from Harrison, New Jersey. That's our top 10 list for tomorrow, or for next week rather.
Right.
Ray Lucas.
Oh, Ray Lucas.
Oh,
yeah,
Lucas.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. You're right. You're very right. Tony Meola. There he is. And yes, Ray Lucas. Yeah, right there. And he wound up on SNY for a while too. Ray Lucas.
He was on the
That's right. He's pretty good on that.
Dolphins too, right? Now he's on.
Now he's with the XFL.
I think he's. Who knows? Hopefully, he's happily retired.
Hopefully,
he played for the
Jets, Dolphins, and I think he played for three teams. Is that who it was?
Oilers,
maybe
something like that.
All righty then. There's
our soccer wrap up for you.
If you're not sleeping now, then you will be.
There you go. All right, cool. All right, folks. On that note, we will wrap the show up for today. We want to thank everybody for watching. And for those of you just listening to the audio podcast, thanks for listening. Don't forget to visit our website, www.getonwithitpodcast.com. That's getonwithitpodcast.com. And please remember, like us and follow us on all of our social media, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Just search for the Get On With It podcast. And, of course, all of our shows are available on YouTube as well on the Logger Room channel. Remember, we go live with a video podcast on both Facebook and YouTube every Wednesday night around 7:30 p.m. Eastern time or so. And for those of you who just want to listen to the audio podcast, you can do so on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, TuneIn, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music Podcasts, and iHeartRadio as well. If you haven't done so already, please subscribe to one or more of those feeds, and you will never miss a show. Again, thanks for following along with us. Have a great rest of your week. Have a wonderful weekend. Keep an eye on all of the Week 15 football contests coming up, and of course all the Hot Stove baseball and basketball and football, basketball and hockey, excuse me. And we will talk to you next week, folks. Take care. Cheers.
Here's a quick note for you.
Go for
Lucas holds the unenviable distinction of worst single-game quarterback performance by any Dolphin. On October 20th, 2002, in a game against the Bills, he was responsible for 6 turnovers, 4 interceptions, and 2 fumbles. He completed 13 passes to Dolphins receivers. The player that caught the most passes from Lucas was Buffalo cornerback Nate Clements.
He was worse than Flipper, huh?
That was his worst day. The worst day of any Dolphins quarterback. But we loved him as a Jet.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Bill Parcells loved him. So
he did. He definitely did. Yeah. All right. Cheers, everybody. See you next week.
Bye, everybody.